vitamin D. Vitamin D acts a lot like a hormone. In fact, there's a lot of people in the endocrinologic world who want to reclassify vitamin D as a hormone because it has so many wide-ranging effects throughout the whole body.
Nearly everything you eat out of the supermarket could have a reaction. There's warning labels on boxes of crackers. Oh, it's in a soy facility. Oh, it could be gluten. Oh, it could have an allergic reaction for wheat. I mean, even reading a box of crackers, you almost have to contact a physician today.
You're running, you're stressed about family for whatever good or bad reason, stressed about work, stressed about this or that, and then you're getting stresses from the environment and whatever, like physical stressors. Guess what? You're basically on fight or flight, and you're not going to repair or rejuvenate anything in your body. So you got to wait till you actually try to get into sleep to do that. And if you don't get a good sleep and you're getting woken up every couple hours to go pee, that's one of those factors.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us again here. Dr. Bruce Fong with me, and we're going to talk about this modern prostate crisis / inflammation crisis that's running through humanity. It doesn't matter what continent you're on. It's affecting everybody across the planet right now, whatever is in our environment. And remember, Dr. Fong, Sierra Integrative Medical Center and Neutronics Labs. So many ways to approach this. You know, we could go the super nuclear way where you drop some prescriptions in instantly and go that direction and then all the things that are associated with it. Or we can take more of a natural approach that is known to work for thousands of years, yet again, for some of the same issues. But at that time, it wasn't as widespread or as chronic as it is today. So there's something in the environment, and what can we do now to battle against the inflammation? And then also, you know, that's for everybody. But then on the prostate side for men, what can we do for this? This is becoming a health crisis beyond epic proportions here. So Dr. Fong, I'm happy that you're here again. And, you know, we talked about men's edge last time, the testosterone crisis as well. You know, the testosterone just dropping off, and those charts that I put, again, through peer-reviewed research, that I pulled some of the data points and those charts I put in the last interview. I mean, the amount of testosterone comparatively to what it was even in the 1980s is down tremendously as well. So what is happening in our environment? So hopefully we can get a glimpse into how to protect ourselves moving forward. So Dr. Fong, the floor is yours.
So, yeah. So, David, again, pleasure being back here. Wonderful being able to talk to everybody. Again, like I said, you know, as a physician, half my battle is to educate and to give you the information as a patient so we can work as a team together to prevent, hopefully just simply prevent a disease. But even if we have to treat one, it's really important we do that. So, like we said last time, testosterone levels are plummeting, and there's a lot of factors for that. Environmental factors, where everything in our food sources, our environment in general, have given things in our body that have actually emasculated us, basically have made it harder for our body to make and utilize that testosterone correctly. And so those are all there. And, you know, we talk about things like in the food sources, there's things that are pro-estrogenic, and meaning that they tend to produce estrogen in our body as opposed to our normal, more balanced, especially in men, of having more testosterone around. And this takes away from our ability not only to utilize that testosterone specifically because you're having competitive binding for those receptors, but you're also creating different kinds of feedback in the body. Ultimately, it means that you're making less testosterone and you're not utilizing that testosterone as well. And then one of the big questions everybody always talks about, hey, you're building up testosterone, but aren't you making it worse for my prostate? I get a question from a lot of my male patients. And the answer is, yeah, actually that's true, but it has to do with the fact that the testosterone, when it's not being utilized properly in your body in the first place, is then being converted, because the body takes excess testosterone, meaning the stuff that's not binding, not being used, and converts it into a form of estrogen. And eventually, depending on which pathway, you know, basically for estrogen that you go down, what's going to happen is that if you go down a specific pathway, certain estrogens are made that will promote abnormal cell development and ultimately can lead to prostate cancer. So, again, what we talked about last time with the man's edge is that we have a lot of stuff in the man's edge itself that actually helps to utilize the testosterone, not just make it, but to utilize it and to help those receptors utilize that testosterone more effectively so that your body can indeed put it down the pathway it was intended to go down, not basically having the extra laying around and converting into those bad estrogens that can, or even the conversion of testosterone in a certain way where the breakdown product of testosterone, one of them is dihydrotestosterone. And that type of breakdown product, if excess amounts of it are on board, can actually cause problems with the prostate itself. So again, the Man's Edge works with that in regards to driving the utilization of testosterone properly and driving the proper metabolism of that testosterone. Now we're talking about the prostate itself. We want to have the ability there to, so we're strictly talking about hormones now. We want that ability there to help us not have that breakdown product be built up too much, nor do we want to have the abnormal hormones around. So this new product we have from Neutronics with this prostate formula we've just developed, some of the big things that are in there, they include vitamin D. Vitamin D acts a lot like a hormone. In fact, there's a lot of people in the endocrinologic world who want to reclassify vitamin D as a hormone because it has so many wide-ranging effects throughout the whole body. That's actually a big philosophical debate that's going on in the endocrinologic world. Vitamin D plays that big role of balancing things out for us. Again, the mechanism being that we're trying to keep men almost, and we're keeping like those bad estrogens out. Two very popular ingredients for prostate that people are probably familiar with are beta-sitosterol and also saw palmetto. And again, the beta-sitosterol, which is one of the more common ones that we see that people feel is one of the more effective things that's out there by itself. Beta-sitosterol also plays a role in preventing the dihydrotestosterone, that breakdown product, from actually binding to the prostate tissue, which could lead to inflammatory change, lead to proliferation of the cells, and potentially lead to that that change where you have too many cells being made that you can unfortunately make a malignant cell. Then saw palmetto, which is everybody's kind of go-to traditionally for prostate issues. One of its big roles when it comes to dihydrotestosterone is it actually prevents you from converting your testosterone to dihydrotestosterone. Our understanding of how the testosterone metabolism goes, those are kind of the critical things that are in this formula we're going to talk about a little bit more today. But David, let's talk about other facets. I mean, hey, inflammation. Everybody's enemy is inflammation. Every tissue in the body hates inflammation. And you know what? Our immune cells create inflammation to try to kill bad guys, because the bad guys can't stand the inflammation either. And so the whole point is we have inflammation for a reason. But when that inflammation is sitting there and it's chronically there, we talked about how the environment has chemicals, hormones, and all other things that kind of mess with our testosterone. Well, those same things, these contaminants, let's just call it our toxic world, are actually getting into to our prostate tissue. And as men, we experience all kinds of symptoms, which I think we'll chat about that in a second here. But the whole point is that it's all about inflammation. Whatever's getting in there, whether it's like a low-grade infection, which a lot of times is what urologists, when they look at you and they can't figure out why you're having so many problems with your prostate and you're failing like other medications, they tend to give you a 30-day course of antibiotics, and it tends to actually clear things up. And again, it's really hard to find this. You can't really culture it really well to determine exactly what bacteria is there, but we do know that the prostate gets infected. Chemical or other environmental contaminants, we see quite often that these things are going to mess with the metabolism of testosterone. We're going to see that it has a direct irritant effect, creating that inflammation in the prostate. So these are all things that we need to consider when we're talking about the prostate. And one of the issues that we see is that excessive inflammation is going to always lead to problems. In fact, there's a whole school of thought out there about how inflammation is the main cause of cell conversion into malignant cells, meaning the inflammation model is a very prominent one that's out there. And so again, the compound we're going to be talking about today has a number of ingredients that help us to deal with inflammation, and things like turmeric is in there. We have the I mentioned, I think, the saw palmetto and beta-sitosterol both decrease the inflammation. Pygeum bark, that's a great one. That one also is a great anti-inflammatory. And again, there's things like lycopene. That's another one. Lycopene is in there, and it actually also decreases that inflammation through, and it has an antioxidant mechanism. And again, oxidation being a means whereby inflammation can actually damage our cells and take us down that wrong path. We have that antioxidant potential. And then zinc is also in there, which helps to clean out things. It helps with, in this case, with the prostate, specifically with electrolyte imbalances. But the bottom line is that it works towards balancing the prostate, as we've mentioned, through various means here. Hormonal balance, the anti-inflammatory effects. So prostate issues in men are extremely common. The scariest statistic that's out there, David, is that 80% of men will have some form of prostate cancer before they die. Fortunately, the vast majority of prostate cancers are actually relatively indolent, like they're really slow growing, and typically, and again, man, this is conventional logic. Conventional logic puts prostate cancer kind of almost on a back burner because how slow it typically grows unless you get a really aggressive form. Maybe we shouldn't even be thinking that way. Maybe the ounce of prevention is worth not a pound, but like a ton of cure. Why go through all these things? And just like you said, David, when men start having issues with the prostate, come on, we start having to go to the bathroom more often. But the truth is, when you have prostate issues, you are going to have to go to the bathroom more often because the prostate itself being enlarged. So what happens is if it's getting bigger, your bladder, which normally can expand, can't expand as much anymore. It's got something that's sitting on there. Like, you guys ever try to like inflate an air mattress? You put your hand on it and it's trying to inflate with its automatic pump, or you're trying to pump it, and then all the air kind of goes around it. Well, the same thing's kind of happening in your bladder, but the bladder can only expand so much in each direction. And if you got this big old prostate, instead of the normal size one, you got this big old prostate, it's going to actually prevent your bladder from expanding. Your bladder's going to freak out going, hey, we got to empty. We're going to empty. We have nowhere to go. And of course, the bladder knows smarter than you. It doesn't want the urine to go backwards up into the kidney because that can be a huge problem. And so the bladder is going, you know what, dude, if you don't go, I'm just, you're going to be embarrassed because we're not going to hold it much longer. And so your body is going to start fighting you guys, and that's not cool. And so what we want to do is to help this out and give that bladder every chance to work the way it's supposed to.
Get me if I'm wrong here. Then we start to get into this feedback loop. Well, if the prostate's enlarged, then you're always going to want to urinate. So you're getting up every night, 2, 3, 4 times a night to go to the bathroom, and then your sleep pattern get disrupted. Then because of lack of sleep, then, do we get into this sort of downward spiral because you're not getting enough sleep? So you're getting more depleted and not as energetic. And then that energy comes back into you eat different foods that even enlarge the prostate further, which cause more bathroom, and it just kind of get this looping downward spiral. And then you go see someone will go see finally reach out for help. Is that normally the way it works, or for a lot of people?
One of the most common questions I was trained to ask when I was in training in primary care was to say, okay, do you pee at night? There's a term we called nocturia, meaning nighttime urination. And so if you get up at night, and initially there was no guidelines to this. One of my attendings that trained me, I always remembered this. If this patient has to get up more times than me at night, they have a problem. And he got up twice every night. So that was his guideline. I won't mention his name here, but the whole point is that we as doctors think along those lines. If it is disturbing your sleep enough, we know that it's an issue, and that's where doctor training comes in and say, okay, I got to do something about it. Unfortunately, most of your physicians out there have zero to very little training about natural products, but they go straight to a pharmaceutical. Just like David said, we don't want to go into the atom bomb right away and just nail everything with a prescription, because there are ways of taking care of stuff that actually naturally promote a much more healthy prostate. I actually have a bottle of it.
You do? Nice. Yeah, I was going to ask you also, like, how does this compare to prescription prostate medicines for conditions like BPH or prostatitis?
Okay, so let's talk about all these things. So benign prostatic hypertrophy is what we call a benign or non-harmful, non-cancerous, specifically enlargement of the prostate. It's a kind of a big, it's a catch-all term that for any reason that the prostate's enlarged that's not cancerous, we call it benign prostatic hypertrophy or BPH. Now, as as we were saying here, everything in the environment that can cause this, like we get these little infections that a lot of times we get that men don't realize it, and it kind of slowly builds up in there. And as it slowly builds up in the prostate, it actually creates enough of an issue where the prostate starts to your immune system in the prostate starts responding to creating that inflammation. Prostate gets enlarged, and it creates more discomfort, and you have actually more urgency, more frequency of urination. Again, you have other reasons why the prostatic tissue starts to enlarge, and the primary medications out there are things like alpha blockers and things like that work on these various pathways that actually force the cells from getting enlarged, but they have a diminishing return. Like anything you put in the body, you can build tolerance to it, and if you're hitting it with the big guns right away, what happens when it loses effectiveness down the line? You're still around. The prescription medications are not necessarily treating the underlying issues about what causes that prostatic enlargement versus promoting healthy tissues. Prostatitis is where there's an inflammation of the prostate. That's where that infection thing I just mentioned comes in. And again, things like hormonal imbalances contribute to the more the quote unquote benign prostatic hypertrophy without supposedly without an inflammation. But here I am. I'm going to make that. I'm going to step out there. I'm probably going to get bagged on if I get urologists looking at me, but whatever. I'm going by my 25 plus years of clinical experience. I'm going to tell you that almost every change in the prostate is going to generate some level of inflammation. And it's very critical that we, as physicians and providers of care, understand that there is definitely an inflammatory model that's going through this. So the term prostatitis simply means an inflammation of the prostate. It is a very generalized term, but when we kind of use that term benign prostatic hypertrophy or benign enlargement of the prostate, we're describing what's happening to the prostate in regards to its gross changes, like the size of the prostate is getting bigger. But the term benign prostatic hypertrophy sort of implies that, hey, there's nothing else going on. It's just the prostate's getting enlarged. I don't think that that's really proper, because in every one of these processes that we just mentioned, the infection, the hormonal imbalances, environmental toxic influences, etc., these all generate their own sort of unique inflammatory change that affects the tissues of the prostate, and it causes those tissues to initially enlarge, or meaning that you're creating more cell growth. And then, unfortunately, if you keep doing that, some of those cells that develop can actually turn malignant and turn into a cancer. So that's where we need to sort of step in. So the answer, I'm sorry, I'm really long-winded today, David, but to answer your question, we want to promote the health of all these tissues. And that's what we have in this particular product we call Prostate Plus. On the most
if I could step in there, because it seemed like when you were talking about each individual ingredient, it seemed like there's a lot of scientific research behind each one of those showing the benefits of it. So if you're looking at everything within that you've created as a formula in there, I mean, the scientific backing or research behind the proven uses for it are rock solid.
A lot of our products at Neutronics, what we've done is essentially a meta-analysis. We're looking at the various research on various different ingredients, and we find the best ingredients. We really try to get the highest quality of those ingredients, put them together, and by themselves in this formulation, they don't have an interaction with each other, obviously. The patients that have used this and the trials we've done, we have not seen anybody have any adverse reactions to the combination of these ingredients. However, like any other research, you're looking at this, and the big question mark is there anything in this that can interact with other things? And unfortunately, the answer is yes, and there's no way you can predict for that. But again, strictly from the standpoint of this product, I feel that this is one of the best combination of ingredients I've ever seen. That otherwise, like I said, if there's an issue, contact your healthcare provider and see if there's some contraindication to something you're taking versus the ingredients in here. Again, at Neutronics, you can try to contact us and we try to help you a little bit. But again, it's best if you kind of follow through with your own healthcare provider at that point.
Yeah, and remember that's neutronicslabs.com, and you can use the code ADAPT for 10% off your first order. And just to get an idea, you're going to flash up everything here on the screen for you so you can see the different ingredients that are in there, different constituents. But I would say, in today's world, coming back to what you said about contacting health providers for interactions, nearly everything you eat out of the supermarket could have a reaction. There's warning labels on boxes of crackers. Oh, it's in a soy facility. Oh, it could be gluten. Oh, it could have an allergic reaction for wheat. I mean, even reading a box of crackers, you almost have to contact a physician today. It's unbelievable that the things in our environment. Heaven forbid you eat a Pop-Tart that has like red dye number 5 in it or something. You're like, oh.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole point is that when you look at this, what you're really looking at is, again, every one of these ingredients that we've mentioned here actually plays a role in shutting down either inflammation, helping to hormonally shunt things in the correct direction, helping to induce normal cell processes, including apoptosis, to break down cells that in their natural life cycle, and to prevent cells that don't have apoptosis from coming around. And so these are the kind of things that we really, really want you to understand. And I forgot to mention we had stinging nettle in this too, which is a very common ingredient for prostate's health. And that stinging nettle actually helps the cells themselves of the prostate to be much more well-defined in regards to being prostate cells, not allowing it to have the unusual triggers to make them reproduce like crazy due to inflammation. That stinging nettle is pretty impressive from that standpoint, as well as, again, being kind of, if you will, a certain modulator that prevents excessive inflammation from moving forward too. So along with all the other ingredients, you've got a real major winner here with one of the most comprehensive formulas I've ever seen of effective ingredients in helping to keep that prostate normal sized, preventing abnormal cells from growing in there. And all in all, let's take it right back to the full circle. With that all is happening, you're keeping that prostate either shrunken down or more of a normal size. You're having less pressure on your bladder. You're allowing your body by that token to, you don't have to pee all the time, so you can enjoy life better. But more importantly, it's not waking you up in the middle of the night when you are critically needing that sleep to reset and retune your body. You're putting yourself in a more proper balance for your body to be in homeostasis, as we call it, to be able to function in the way that it was supposed to in the first place. Getting a deep sleep is critical for you to maintain your health, to be allowing your body to continue to make the things you need to make to not only maintain yourself, but to repair damage, to, say, replace broken things in the body, like bad cells or whatever. Without all of that proper sleep, you won't have that balance to do it. Because guess what? If you're running like almost every other person in the world, you're stressed about family for whatever good or bad reason, stressed about work, stressed about this or that, and then you're getting stresses from the environment and whatever, like physical stressors. Guess what? You're basically on fight or flight, and you're not going to repair or rejuvenate anything in your body. So you got to wait till you actually try to get into sleep to do that. And if you don't get a good sleep and you're getting woken up every couple hours to go pee, that's one of those factors.
This is just sent to me, because I'd ask for a few of the samples, especially, the Men's Edge, and then, just, hey, try the sleep. I kid you not, spray this under the tongue about 5 or 6 sprays of this, and then 15, 20 minutes later, drift off. And, this is, like I said, it's not even the point of the program today, but I do think that loop of having the sleep along with not having to visit the bathroom as many times. Because the reason I bring everybody this information is our environment's not getting any cleaner at the moment. At some point, I really hope we roll over where the world wakes up and goes, whoa, we need to get these toxins out of here. It's affecting the human biome too much. We're really starting to damage humanity here. But the way it looks so far, with these geoengineering experiments, they're trying to spray 4,000 square miles off of California. This is only the beginning of the toxins that are going to continue to roll into our environment. The preventatives that need to be happening, I talk about prepping and, solar cycles that are affecting food production, the never-ending pounding of detritus falling out of our skies. That's also affecting the soils where we try to plant our crops. All this is continuing to ramp up, and I don't see it slowing down. So how does this dovetail into my whole genre here is we're going to have to deal with this head on. And the things that we can use for preventatives to help us alleviate some of these are what are most common conditions around right now that all of us are going to have to deal with. Why wouldn't we want to talk about this as well as, well, how much storable food should I have? This is in the same thing. Well, how do we do dental care in a grid down? That's the same direction that we all need to be talking. It's not like prepping and getting ready for these changes is just storing food up. That's one facet of it. But you look at a diamond, how many facets would there be cut on the face of that? This is it too. Like, how do you deal with some of these common problems? And imagine if you do have to stay awake longer, you have to do more activity, you have to do something that's very different in your lifestyle right now. You wouldn't want such a small thing to be affecting you, such as a prostate, of something that you could so easily, get that back under control again. So, that's why I try to bring this information out, because this is a full wide array of getting us ready for these changes. And in my personal, it's not going to slow down, at least not for right now. So you can take that for what it's worth, but Dr. Fong, I'll let you respond to that.
Yeah, no, I mean, the whole point is that it's the whole picture, guys. This is a major facet of it, is that, so that I'm just trying to show you the connection there. The major one is that, yeah, it's irritating. Yeah, all guys get this kind of thing as we get older, but guess what? We don't necessarily have to be getting it, or at the very least not having to be that symptomatic with it. And if we can do that ounce of prevention, we get a ton of potential cure out of this. And again, these natural ingredients, they tend not to be able to be, shall we say, develop a tolerance to from the body. We know as we use them, maybe we got to use a little more here and there, but it's not going to be like the tolerance we get when we use a hardcore pharmaceutical agent, because that's a significant change and the body's trying to respond to that. Remember, I think Newton's second law of physics: for everything, every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. So what we're trying to do here is to get you in balance, you guys. And again, the major issue really is, don't let this keep you up at night. Don't let this take away from that critical part of maintaining that balance of your body, which is that sleep, allowing you to reset things, repair and rejuvenate things. We've got to have that part. We're pitching this because we want people to be the best they can be. And it's a multifaceted issue. And until we realize that every piece in our lives where we can, take care of ourselves to prevent illness, emphasis on prevention and taking advantage of maximizing ourselves and making ourselves the best we can be, versus simply responding to a problem when it shows up, it's going to be 10 times, 100 times or more effective when you do it that way.
Excellent. So please remember, nutronics.labs.com and use that code ADAPT, A-D-A-P-T, for 10% off your order.
Right now, if you guys sign up for what's called auto ship, it's where you subscribe to the thing. Not only do you get half off versus a one-time buy price, but you'll also get a free bottle of the 300,000 nanogram strength of the IGF-1, the deer antler velvet we talked about on the previous show, that has all the growth factors that are in your body, as if you had human growth hormone there. So we want everybody to have the perfect combinations of things to make themselves the best they can be. We want you guys to be healthy. We want you to, as a physician, you make my job easier. Like when you maintain yourself, and all I have to deal with is something new that's coming along, and everything else is all great. That's most of the times that's going to be a real easy case, and we can help each other make things perfect that way.
I'll leave that link in the description box below so you can click and go. Thank you so much for your time. And Dr. Fong, thank you for talking to us about these important issues.